Wednesday Season 2 has come to an end, but did they stick the landing? What's going on, guys? I'm Chris, and welcome back to another video. Today, I've got my review of Wednesday Season 2 Part 2. This is episode 5, 6, 7, and 8 of the second season of Wednesday. Of course, the first part came out back in August. We've waited about a month, and now we've got the final 4 episodes. I was able to watch these 4 episodes early, and I got a lot to say. Before I get into it, hit that like button, comment down below your thoughts on these final 4 episodes of Wednesday Season 2 Part 2. Did they stick the landing for you or not? And of course, subscribe and hit that notification bell to help reach my goal of 150,000 subscribers here on the channel. I mean, quite a bit. So taking it back to the end of part 1, episode 4 leaves off with Wednesday's fate a bit up in the air, uncertain, if you will. She gets flung from Willow Hill's window, smashes onto the pavement, and she looks like she's almost dead. However, she is just in a coma, and if you watch the season 2 part 2 trailer, I will be referring to things from that, so if you want to avoid any and all spoilers, maybe watch this video after you've watched the 4 episodes, because I will be alluding to some things that happen, but I won't outright say spoilers here. But this is in the first 10 minutes of this episode, what I'm about to say. It's in the trailer for part 2. Wednesday wakes up in the hospital, and she finds out that Principal Weems is in fact her spirit guide. And that's not just a gag, that's not just a bit, that's something that actually happens in real life, and she's a recurring character in these 4 episodes. She pops up here and there to give Wednesday advice from beyond. It was good to see Gwendolyn Christie back in the role. I thought she added a nice dynamic to the cast, and just her and Wednesday's back and forth throughout this season reminded me a lot of some of the best elements, the best interactions from season 1, so it felt weirdly nostalgic in a way to see this character back in action. Now, like I said in my review of part 1, this season, through the first 4 episodes at least, definitely relied a lot more on the Addams family dynamic, and that's even more apparent here in part 2, as the family connection is strong, and it's very tied to the main narrative that unfolds in these final 4 episodes. Without getting into too many spoilers, there are some characters who were definitely set up to have a bigger role in part 2, and they damn sure did, especially Slurp and the mystery patient from Willow Hill, who we all had our theories on. Oh, is she Anophilia? Is she Tyler's mom? That's revealed here. I won't say who for the sake of spoilers. I'll just say I may or may not have been right about one of my major character predictions. You gotta watch and find out what I'm referring to. But the supporting characters in the back half of the season definitely have a lot more to do, in my opinion, because early on in part 1, one of my complaints or critiques was I felt like the supporting cast didn't have enough meat on the bone, right? They didn't have a reason to be there, and here in the back half of the season, that gets completely reversed. The Addams family, like I said, Morticia, Gomez, they've got a lot more to do. There's a bit of a backstory that unfolds with them that reminded me a lot of how in season 1 we got some flashbacks that retconned events of the season and sort of framed Morticia and Gomez as, villains in a sense, until you get the full truth of the situation with all the context, all the facts. There are flashbacks here that reminded me a lot of what we get near the end of season 1, and I appreciated that. It reminded me of the first season of this show. We also get a new villainous presence in a way. I won't say too much. It's not just Tyler Galpin running around in the back half of this season. Of course, he's out, he's on the run. That's a major plot point in the back 4 episodes, but there are other characters introduced that he gets intertwined with that add a lot more depth to not only Tyler, but those around him. And I don't want to say too much here, but if you thought the Addams family had some crazy things going down, just wait. And if you wanted season 2 to dive more into the horror and you felt it didn't do that enough in the first 4 episodes, I felt it did that more here in the back half. There are some images in particular where I was like, wow, they kind of went for it there. I don't want to spoil anything, of course, but just the aesthetic, the sort of atmosphere that's created in the back half of the season was a lot more creepy, a lot more spooky season coded, in my opinion. There's one episode in particular, I can't even make this up. It's Freaky Friday meets Teen Wolf, and I'm not being hyperbolic when I say that. You gotta watch the episode, you'll be like, yep. The exploration of Enid being a werewolf, her control over that, her lack of it, and her sort of learning about herself, that's explored a lot here in this season. You've also got, maybe a body swap element that comes into play for a bit of part of an episode, and so they really went for it with switching up genres here. It's not just a straight up mystery. Of course, they're trying to crack the case here, and you've got the investigative drama elements at play that are in the first part of the season as well as season 1, but here there is yet again some high school drama. But like I said, they're flipping the script. There's comedy that works. Jenna Ortega and Emma Myers are giving performances that are different than anything they've done in the show so far, where, they get to have fun and play around in Tim Burton's sandbox a bit in one of these episodes, and I just was so appreciative of that. Wednesday, almost the show, feels like it's taken a step forward in the back half of the season to where it's allowed to have fun. It's allowed to try new, different things. I think those choices that they made worked for the most part in one episode in particular. Something else I really enjoyed about season 2, part 2 was a lot of the backstory, right? This world feels so fleshed out at this point, and I feel like they could do many more seasons because the opportunity is there to just insert a flashback and have another character from someone's past pop back up, and then you have, you know, flashback scenes with them throughout the season, and they really capitalize on the use of flashbacks really, really well here, not only to recontextualize current day relationships between characters, but also to give us, the audience, a lot more information naturally, without it just being this monologue of someone saying, oh, back in my day, this went down. It's more like, hey, let's take a glimpse back into the past, and then boom, you guys are thrown back into the present day, and you have this info. It's really cleverly done, in my opinion. And when I say part 2 of this season takes leaps forward for Wednesday as a show, I mean it. There are huge revelations made. They go full Harry Potter at one moment, and I won't give you any context as to what I mean, but you'll know if you're a fan of the series. I was like, that's a huge sort of twist where I was like, didn't see that coming, but that's clever, and I really like how they did that. It worked for me. But the character relationships are really sort of at the forefront in the back half of the season, and that's something that I appreciate, because in media, right, movies, shows, books, video games, whatever it may be, I have to care about the characters. I have to be bought into their relationship, and Wednesday and Enid are basically the heart of this back half of the season. You also throw in the character Agnes. I think they do a lot with her character arc. There are moments where she feels like a literal outcast, feels lonely, rejected from the population, and not really getting to have a real friendship that she aspired to have. So they do a lot with her character arc here. Wednesday and Enid are going through the ringer. You just gotta see the adventure they're thrown into. There's some madness at play there. And even the character Bianca Barclay and her relationship with her mom, that is explored here, but more importantly, this idea of the Morning Star cult, there's a ton that's explored here in the back half that I appreciated. And you even have a character like Ajax, who might be a little more sidelined in part 2, but he still has his moments to shine here. And he ended up having some of the MVP moments of the back half. I was like, hell yeah, it's about time he gets his moment to shine. When it comes to the Addams family, the character Pugsley makes some decisions where I'm like, man, what are you doing? But at the same time, he is just a kid, I have to remember that, so he's sort of awestruck by this creation of his zombie and Slurp, but he doesn't know the nitty-gritty details behind the scenes of who that person actually was, and those may or may not be revealed to us, and that might get Pugsley into some sticky situations, we'll say. And I'll say, having seen the whole season, that one of the characters that really took a dip for me, unfortunately, is Eugene. I thought Eugene was such a sweetheart in season 1. He was this lovable guy, and him and Wednesday's relationship had so much heart, right? Here, I feel like he didn't have as much to do, unfortunately, and even the bit of the arc they try to give him just felt a little shoehorned in there to be like, oh yeah, we got to do something with Eugene, because he was in season 1, and he was a prominent character. He took a bit of a backseat, unfortunately, I'd say. But you can certainly feel the scale of this back half of the season. In fact, if you look at season 2 as a whole, the budget was certainly upped. The visual effects are there. You get a lot more hide scenes here with Tyler and maybe other creatures at play. And even just the set pieces feel larger in scale. And so that I was very appreciative of. It's like season 1 was this mega success, so we're gonna up the production value of season 2. And I imagine they'll probably do the same with season 3. But it's so cool to me that we have this world of Nevermore Academy, and you know, Willow Hills, a new setting that's introduced, and Jericho, right, the city. All these places feel so Tim Burton, so eccentric. They have their own identity, and you can just see Tim Burton's directorial style all over it. I dug it, and I really am immersed into this world. I'm bought into these characters. I want more Wednesday Addams detective adventures, and to me, this season felt like a part 1, having seen the whole thing, but not in a bad way. Not in a way where I'm like, damn, I gotta see what happens next. Because there are some loose ends here that are certainly going to play out in season 3, right? We know that is happening. That season's been renewed. There are certain characters' fates who are wrapped up a little too quickly, in my opinion. Others, I'm like, okay, I need to see more of them. And I'm kind of ready for that next step in their journey as a character. We all know Lady Gaga's been cast in season 2. I don't want to say too much about her role here, but I will say I'm surprised that she didn't have as much screen time as I thought. And I still don't know for sure if this show wants me to think she's Rosaline Rotwood, which is who she was cast to be, or if she's supposed to be someone else. And that's something that'll be revealed in season 3, of course, but I have my theories. I'll probably do a spoiler review, you know, very soon, so be on the lookout for that. But as a whole, I thought part 2 was probably stronger than part 1. It had better pacing. Granted, it is the back half half of the season, so I have to view the season as one. If I look at it as a whole 8-episode season, which it is, I enjoyed the hell out of it. It was another solid entry in this world. I'd say I still prefer season 1 if I'm comparing the two, just because it felt a little more tight. There was less going on with these side characters and subplots. It was more of one streamlined narrative. Here, there's a lot of subplots that may or may not feel that rewarding by the time they're wrapped up, but I still was on board with the main mystery at the core of this season. The character of Wednesday grew a lot here, especially her relationship with her family, that being her brother, her father, her mother, her grandma. All these different characters had a lot to do in the Addams family, and so it's kind of morphing from just Wednesday to a full-on Addams family show in a sense. It's not there quite yet, but I could see them fully transitioning over to that eventually. Enid's a strong character here, her and Wednesday's relationship as roommates, but also friends. It's tested in this season. They have their ups and downs, and all in all, this season screams Tim Burton. There were a lot of cool moments, you know, whether that's a black and white flashback, or, you know, a creepy shot where a character will break the fourth wall looking down the barrel of the camera. Like, there were unsettling moments throughout these last 4 episodes where I'm like, that's Tim Burton right there. It's like the perfect balance of spooky, heartfelt. I kind of dug it. And so I was a fan of Wednesday season 2, both part 1 and part 2. Again, I still give the edge to season 1, but as a whole, I enjoyed the journey we went on with season 2. That being said, I hope we don't have to wait 3 years for the next season, because there are a lot of open plot lines still and things I want to see resolved. They gave us a lot of clarity. They closed off a lot of storylines, but I want more. And I feel like this season honestly could have been a couple episodes longer and I wouldn't have complained. But overall, I enjoyed Wednesday season 2, part 2 and part 1. Let me know in the comments down below what you thought though. And of course, hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And if you want my spoiler review, let me know in the comments down below and I can be sure to do that. But that's going to do it. Thank you guys as always for watching. And until next time, I'll see you guys later.